Alright, so welcome guys. We're going to be doing a force prep class today. Once again, my name is Rich Stauffer. I'm from CFB Edmonton. We're going to do a force prep class like I just said. A couple things you need is I'm going to be using a 45-pound ruck right here. Again, yours can weigh whatever seems appropriate to you. Just if you are using a backpack or ruck or whatever, just make sure you tie the straps down a little bit, secure those so as you're throwing the thing around, you don't have random straps hitting you in the face and all that stuff. That would be uncomfortable. Okay, another thing I want you guys to bear in mind is you are to play your own music. I won't be competing with a whole bunch of background music or any of that stuff in this class. So if you want to get pumped up with your favorite jock jams or whatever, you guys are playing that on your own. I will be providing any music in this class. Next thing I'm going to do is read a little bit of a kind of warning brief at the very beginning of this class here. I'll put my screen so I can read off it. Alright, so in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering virtual fitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, a virtual fitness class is tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members recognize and acknowledge that their age, health status, and physical fitness level are unknown, and it is entirely up to each individual to assess their ability to participate in this class. Since it is preferable to consult your physician before beginning any exercise program, we invite all participants who are not Canadian Armed Forces members to consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document. If you experience any pain or difficulty during the exercise presented in this video, it is recommended that you stop and consult a healthcare provider. If a CAF member sustains an injury during this video, please remember to fill out your CF98 to keep yourselves covered. Always a good idea to have that paperwork in order. We are just going to get a little bit of a brief kind of introduction to the class. Once again, as I mentioned, for the 5th time I think now, this is a force prep class. Okay, because this is specifically targeted at the force test, that's why my ruck's a little bit heavier. My bag's a little heavier than the 44-pound sandbags, but it's close enough for sure. Again, depending on your fitness level, you might want to go a little lighter than that. Maybe you even want to go a little heavier if you're just here for a workout. That would totally be fine. I'm trying to keep the time domain similar to what you'd experience for the force test, or keeping them, changing them up a little bit to kind of feed into the fitness required for that particular test. So, for example, on those intermittent loaded shells, we're not going to be going for the full, or for the intermittent loaded shells, we'll be going for the full amount of time, no real rest at all. Whereas some of the tests are a little shorter in nature, we're going to take a couple of attempts at those particular tests to kind of see if we can up your speed a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go after a little bit of rush practice, a little bit of sandbag lift, intermittent loaded shuttle, and finally, last but not least, the drag. If you wanted the best results as possible, you'd probably do the drag first, but that's not how we do the test. So we want to make sure we train to what you're going to experience on test day. So to begin, we're just going to loosen things up, generally speaking. So we are going to do the world's greatest stretch in just a moment. I think my camera's a little dirty here. See if I can help us out. It's a little less fuzzy. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, maybe that's better, maybe not. Maybe it's worse, who knows? All right, so we're going to do world's greatest stretch. So right leg forward, left leg back, just like that. Squeeze glute on that left leg, push hips forward just like that. We're then going to look over the forward leg, getting a little bit of a stretch still in that front of that leg, as well as a little bit of rotation through the spine. You're then going to take your left hand up in the air, and you can reach that thing up just like that right there. Pause there for a nice exhale. Both hands are going to go down. You hop the back leg towards the wall behind you. Pardon me. This is going to give you a nice stretch in the front of your back leg, back of your front leg. Exhale there, hand goes up to the ceiling just like that. And the hand goes around the outside of the foot. Push back, you do a nice little hamstring stretch right for the back of the leg there. Good. Once you've done that, same thing on the other side. Squeeze the right glute this time, left leg is forward, push the hips forward, look over that forward leg with a rotation through the spine. Exhale that hand up in the air, down. Drop the hips between those feet. We're trying to make contact between the feet. Obviously not going to happen for most of us, but that's the goal. That's the feeling you should be looking for anyway. Hand comes up, stack those shoulders up on top of each other. Hand goes to the outside of the foot, toes come up, shove back into a nice little hamstring stretch for the back of the leg. All right, we're going to continue getting into those hips here. Take the feet slightly wider, shoulder width apart. You're going to drop down into a nice squat. For the This first one, we're just going to rock back and forth ever so slightly, just kind of exploring the bottom of that squat. We are going to be doing a little bit of squatting in this class. Then take those hands on top of the feet, push up into that hamstring stretch. Don't have to get those knees totally locked out on this one. That's totally fine. If a soft bend is there, as long as you feel it in the back of the leg, a little bit in the glutes, maybe a tiny bit in the back, that's okay. Back into that squat one more time. Chest up, elbows back as you can, pushing those knees out. And we're going to go back into that hamstring stretch. Again, aiming for a stretch in the back of the legs. Roll up out of that. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to see if we can fire up the glutes a little bit. So you can do this a number of different ways. Basically, the basic version of what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the lower leg, kind of using the weight of the leg to move it away from the body from a laying position. A couple different ways you can do this. It's called a clamshell kind of thing. If you have a band to throw around your knees, works really, really well, really easy to load this in the upright spot. Without any weight, you can still certainly do it. With or without the band, you can keep your leg straight and pull it away from your body. You can have your knee bent, just pull, kind of turn the leg away from the body, keeping the foot in contact. You can also move the foot away from the body. Whatever position you can get into that fires up that glute the most, that's what I want you to do. I want you to try to feel this as little as possible in the front of the leg. One kind of way, no matter what method you're using, no matter what movement you're using, is making sure that the toes don't point away from the body. If the toes point away from the body like this, chances are you're going to be firing up that hip flexor a little bit more, whereas if you kind of keep the feet parallel to the floor, or even try to emphasize leading with the heel, you might feel the back of the leg a little bit more. So with that long explanation of something we've done a few times before, let's go ahead and hit 10 of those, whatever works for you. So I'm just going to go down on my side here. For this first one, I am just going to do kind of your traditional clamshell, keeping my one foot on my other foot, squeezing my butt hard at the top, just like that. You don't have to hold for a whole bunch of time at the top, but a short hold definitely isn't a bad thing. I'm going to switch sides here. And for some reason with this side, I don't quite feel this one as much, so I'm going to go into this one, the straight leg. For whatever reason, I feel that a little bit more in my glute, kind of if I were to put my hands on my hips right where my thumb is, that's where I'm trying to feel this. So whatever body position works for you. And I lost count because I was blah blind, but that's okay. We'll call that 10. Okay, now we're going to do the prone YTW shoulder activation. So this is again just kind of activating the muscles in the back of your shoulder, between your shoulder blades, all that good stuff. Try not to shrug too much, trying to keep space in between your shoulders and your ears. We're going to do it from standing position, as I often do. So what you're going to do, if you don't hip width apart, is just fine. You're going to unlock at the knees, you're going to push the hips back till you kind of feel a little bit of a stretch in the hamstrings, and your torso is maybe not quite parallel. I'd be having a hard time getting there, but it's closer there than it is to being upright kind of thing. So 45 degrees is probably okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a Y shape, then I'm going to make a T shape, and then I'm going to bring my elbows in. I'm going to make a W shape, okay? And I'm just going to try to emphasize that. I'm going to do that 5 times in each position, relatively slow. You don't have to slow it down too much. I wouldn't count out, beats or anything like that. But definitely take a little bit of time with this one. Just feel that squeeze in the shoulder blades. Again, trying to crunch those shoulders up by your ears too much. So again, it's going to look just like this. Drop the chest down, make that Y shape, T shape, W, Y, T, W. 2 more. Pardon me. Now it's 2 more. Good. All right. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of a plank with shoulder tap. So I'm just get myself up into a push-up position. And all I'm going to do is remove a hand from the floor, just like that, without my body wiggling all over the place, my hip dropping, any of that kind of stuff. Okay, so to show you the profile of it here, get my feet a little wide if I want to keep nice and stable. Just 3 on each side. All right. Good. Next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of dead bug. Again, kind of the quickest way to kind of decide if you're accomplishing your goal or not is maintaining or minding your distance between the bottom of your ribcage, top of your hips. If that's opening up or those ribs start to flare out, chances are you're not quite hitting the mark on this one. So a little bit of a reconsideration of technique wouldn't be a bad idea. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get you guys to set up just like this right here. Okay, you're then going to, pardon me, from this position, then you're going to squeeze your abs nice and tight, push a little back into the floor, bring your knees up so they're relatively close to right over top of the hips. Shoulder blades come up off the ground, and from here I'm going to start really, really small with my movement. Squeezing my abs probably as hard as it's going to get, the closer my heel and my hand make it to the floor. I'm just doing 3 on each side. I've been counting though, so I got 1 more on each side. And you'll notice, the longer my set gets, the more I warm up, the more I feel competent, stabilizing, again, keeping that area between the bottom of the ribcage, top of the hips consistent, the further down I'll go. If I'm flopping all over the place through my spine, really small movements are definitely going to be key to kind of help establish what that's supposed to feel like. And then you can gradually get a little bit bigger, have that hand go a little further away from that foot as you proceed with the movement. But, so we're warming up. The whole goal is to activate the proper muscles. We don't want to rush through this too much. We're going to continue with that warm-up. We're going to bang through another round of that world's greatest stretch. Should be a little bit warmer now. I know I am. I can get my elbow down. Seems more reasonable than it did a couple minutes ago. Stack the shoulder blades on top. Hand comes around the inside of the foot. That hamstring stretch. Good. Go ahead and switch sides. Squeeze glute, push hips forward. Look over that forward leg. Hands come up, or hand comes up. Try to reach that palm toward the ceiling. Both hands down, back leg towards the wall behind you. Hand goes up to the ceiling. Around to the outside of the foot. Push back into that hamstring stretch. All right. Okay. Feet slightly wider, shoulder width apart. We're going to go down to that squat just as we do the first time. We're going to go kind of just shift back side to side, use those elbows to push those knees apart, then drop those hands and push into that hamstring stretch. Back into that squat stretch. Hamstrings. One more time into that squat stretch. Exhale in that hamstring stretch. Roll up out of that. Good. Okay, we're going to go to that those climb shells again. I'm going to go through this a little quicker this time. Again, just kind of pausing at the top, making sure if I know that this is my goal, squeeze here. Be really thoughtful about squeezing at the top of the glute as you do these. Again, a load of extra resistance isn't bad. If you got a light dumbbell, 5-pound dumbbell laying around, just chuck it on top of your knee there if you're doing this one. Again, feel that squeeze there. If you don't feel this one, you're probably not too strong for the exercise. You're probably not squeezing the muscle in the right spot. We just want to get that mind-muscle connection going so we can use those glutes in the workout. More. Good. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to do that prone YTW. So we did it from a standing position a couple seconds ago. We are now going to do it from a laying position. Very important with this. Now we've kind of got the floor as a little bit of a reminder to keep those upper back muscles activated at all times. You want to make sure you're really squeezing through the upper back and not arching your back too much and letting that core go. So you're going to, when you're standing, it's a little easier. When you're standing up there, pardon me, it's a little easier to kind of mind what the core is doing. When you're laying on the floor, we can get a little lazy, and the low back loves to jump in and help to kind of get those hands away from the floor. But for this one, we are going to really make sure that we keep that spine as neutral as we can. Really mind that space between the bottom of the ribcage, top of the hips. That's why we do, you know, all the stuff we do in the first round to kind of help feed into this stuff for the second round. So, because I could have just got you to do 20 in a row in the first round, but we're really going after. I'll show you guys the profile there. Again, we don't want to be doing this. I want you to keep this on nice and tight. Okay, I'm going to make that Y shape, T shape, W. Y, T, W. 3 more. Okay, next up we're going to do that plank with the shoulder tap. Again, we're just trying to stabilize. Even though we're lifting one hand up off the floor, we want to make sure that we are not moving our hips around too much. We're staying relatively stable, okay? So from that push-up position, tap, and pause if that's too easy. Go a little bit more narrow with the feet. I'm finding a little bit of a harder time with this, so maybe a little bit of narrow feet or foot position wasn't a bad idea for me at all, as long as my hips weren't moving too much. Okay, next thing we're going to do is the dead bug. Now we're a little bit more warmed up. I've got a little bit of sweat on my forehead. That's what we're looking for. Maybe now I'll bring my hands and my feet a little further from each other. But if you feel like you're going, all the way out with the hands and the feet, but you feel like your spine's starting to move, bring it back in. The goal here isn't necessarily to challenge that core a whole bunch. It's to remind the muscles around your spine to kick on when they should. So if you get the hands so far away from each other that you're not accomplishing the goal of the exercise, then bring it in a little bit. So I'm going to gradually get these things further away from each other. Knees on top of the hips, shoulder blades just off the floor, hands on top of the shoulders. Okay, so I'm going to go just like that. I'm going to keep a little bit of a bend in my knees. Make sure I do this thing right. One more. And again, if you're looking at me from the side and I got wrinkles in my shirt as I'm doing that exercise, if those wrinkles totally smooth out, probably that means that my rib cage and my bottom of my rib cage, and my hips have moved away from each other, and I'm not controlling that spine. If I keep a couple of those wrinkles, certainly if my belly pops out, probably I really move my spine quite a bit. But if I keep most of those wrinkles, some of them smooth out a little bit, but not too much, I probably have an acceptable amount of very minimal movement in my spine. Okay? Good. So next thing we're going to do is get into a little bit of a workout. So to start, we are going to jog on the spot, and then we're going to do a step back lunge to a prone position with a ham release, okay? So what we're aiming for with that step back lunge with the ham release, and for the jog on the spot, whatever you want to do, if you want to do high knees, touch your knees to your hands, that's fine. Whatever intensity level you want to bring, I might have some suggestions during the workout, but again, the whole idea is to kind of keep moving in between that step back lunge pattern, and later we're going to do a burpee pattern. But for the first one, what it's going to look like is just going to jog on the spot. We're going to do 10 steps each leg, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then from there, we're going to do a step back lunge pattern, just like this right here. I can do a push-up pattern, hands up, come right back up into that lunge and stand. You don't have to jump out of this. It's not a burpee per se. It's a similar pattern. That's not necessarily the goal. We're not trying to get good at burpees. We're just trying to get good at getting down and up off the floor. If this was the force test, you wouldn't be jumping up, you'd be going forward. And I find a lot of people that really practice the burpee pattern, when they do the force test, they're super good at getting down and up, but they jump up in the air and then they go forward. Just remember, when you're doing this, your goal is to take a step forward out of either that lunge or that burpee pattern, okay? So I'm not going to kind of enforce you guys to take a forward step out of this one, but just make sure, like, if your weight is somewhere, whether it's forward or back, a forward step would be better than being neutral or even stepping backwards after that burpee pattern or the step back lunge pattern. Because once again, during the force test, very important that you think about going forward for a lot of the down and ups. Okay, so I just described the step back lunge. We're then going to do 10, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then you're going to do a burpee pattern, okay? And again, with that burpee pattern, what we're trying to do is step back lunges 1 foot at a time, which I believe is the fastest way to do the force test, because you don't have to like get out of that burpee and then run forward. You're already kind of in that lunge position, so you can just take off the other foot. But a lot of people like the burpees. Burpees are real familiar, so we're going to practice those too. So we're going to do a step back lunge, 10 joining on the spot on each leg, and then a burpee pattern. We're going to see how that goes for the first round. If after you've done that, you're like, doesn't feel natural, you want to either all do the lunges or all do the burpees, or do all lunges or burpees, pardon me, that would be totally fine as well, as long as we're practicing getting up and down off the ground. Now, for that push-up pattern, it doesn't have to be totally strict, okay? So what I mean by that is, if I was going to do a strict kind of step back lunge burpee, I might go like this, 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 this. And that's pretty good in the sense that keeping my spine nice and straight, there's not a bunch of extra wiggling or whatever going on. But if I'm trying to do this quickly, I might be better suited to step into this position, knees down, go like that right there. If you're having a little bit of trouble with the shoulder endurance or strength or whatever during the test, doing your push-up pattern from the knees is not a bad thing. And I actually have a pretty good speed on this. I've gotten just below 30 seconds before, which is not the fastest I've ever seen, but it's pretty quick. And I, generally speaking, as a habit, without even thinking about it, do my push-ups off the knees because it just tends to be a little quicker. The lever's a little smaller if you think about going from the toes to the knees, so things can happen a little faster if you go from the knees. So for both the burpee pattern and the step back lunge pattern, I will probably, without really thinking about it too much, be going off my knees for that push-up portion. And that's totally fine because it's not a push-up test, it's the rushes, right? Okay, so now that I'm a little bit over my time already behind schedule, sounds like me, we're gonna kick this off. Oh, we're gonna do 5 rounds with about, 5 rounds of 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. I'll get my head back in the frame, how about that? All the Ichabod cranes in the audience freaking out at me. All right. Okay. All right, guys, let's do it. So jog 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Burpee. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Burpee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Burpee. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge. That's time. Good. So once again, as I predicted with myself, I do not like the burpee pattern and it threw me off a little bit. So for my next round, I'm just going to be doing step back lunge. That's the one I know I'm fastest at, so I'm going to practice that one a little bit. Try to drill it, maybe the next round do a burpee. If you like alternating, feel free to alternate. If you like just the one, feel free to do just the one. I'm already 5 seconds behind, so let's get into it. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge. 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Step back lunge again. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Lunge back. 9, 10. 8, 9, and time. Whew, good job, guys. Whew. This next one, I'm going to change it up. I'm going to do the burpee pattern. I'm going to start that off in about 5 seconds, starting with the run. All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's time. Whew. 2 more rounds. Whew. Big deep breaths. If like me, you're sweating all over the place. Wipe it off a little bit. 2 more rounds. Next round, I'm gonna go back to the lunge. No time for water. Let's do it. 2, 3. Step back lunge. 2, 3. 8, 9, 10. 9, 10. 8, 9, 10. 9, And time. Whew. Last round coming up. 15 seconds and get a break. We'll take 2 minutes after 45 more seconds of work. We're going to finish off with that burpee pattern. A little less to think about there. Okay, let's do it. 10. 10. 10. 15 seconds left. Last one. Time. Good job, guys. Walk around a little bit, breathe. Definitely kick things off with a little bit of intensity. It's totally fine. Whew. We're taking 2 minutes. 2 minutes to breathe. I'm gonna grab a little bit of water. Nice deep breath. Go ahead and locate that backpack or ruck, heavy thing, whatever you're using. I'm going to go over the next exercises with it. Need a little bit of space for this one, so I'm going to do some exercises back here, or one exercise back here, one up here. Nice deep breaths. All right, guys. Next thing we're going to do is, we've done this one before, but now we're going to lengthen a little bit. We're going to do the side shuffles. So starting on one side, you're going to touch down, just like that. Feel free to stand up as tall as you can. You don't need to go way, way up in the air. You don't have to be totally upright at the top. But make sure you stand up as much, or stand up a reasonable amount. What I don't want you guys to do is kind of do this, right? Because we're trying to simulate we would be lifting that sandbag at some point. It's not an exact replication of the test, since you'd be lifting and standing on each side, going down and up on each side. From my perspective, my experience with the test, I'm pretty quick at this one too, not to, toot my own horn, but I'm pretty quick at this one. This feels similar enough to the test for me personally that I don't mind not standing all the way up in between each one, but trying to get to more or less a full standing position between as you're transiting from here to here kind of thing. This should be more or less a full standing position. If you're shorter, you're for sure going to have to stand up taller in the test. Bags need to come up a little higher. But if you're taller than like 5'8" or so, probably sandbag going to need to be right there. So you might not need to go super vertical for the test, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to do 10 total. So 5 on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Finish on this side. Then we're going to approach our sandbag in the middle here. You're going to grab onto the ends of it. You'll lift the thing up, okay? What we're aiming for as we lift that thing up is you're going to try to, very similar to that stretch we did, you're going to go just like that right there. You're going to find that sandbag. You can drop your chest a little bit more, drop your hips a little bit more, whatever your mobility allows. But really make sure that you're trying to keep that back relatively straight. If you know for a fact that like my back's never straight at the bottom of this test, I can't, or your back isn't straight, or your feet aren't staying flat on the floor, something that I would advise you do is maybe find a way to take your bag and prop it up just a little bit higher. You can definitely work on mobility, work on that squat stretch I was doing before to kind of get those hips mobilized so you can get all the way down there. But if you find you've followed along with me with this one for a couple workouts and this one tends to jack up your back, nothing the matter in the training aspect of things, the training environment, to find something to just prop your bag up. If I were to do this with my situation right here, I got 2 dumbbells, I might put it on the top of those 2 dumbbells, put me about this much higher off the ground, wouldn't get in the way of me lifting the sandbag at all. It could really help prevent me from rounding my back at the bottom if I picked it off just an elevated surface. Once again, this is training, this is not the test. You don't injure yourself training, that's not going to make the test any better. So if you got to modify the technique a little bit to make it safe, that's totally fine. So I did a whole pile of talking. Like I said, definitely behind schedule already, only 5 minutes, that's not so bad for me. We're going to kick this one off, okay? All right, guys, we're going to start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, over to my sandbag. 10 lifts. Good. We got 20 seconds left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Whoops, I did an extra one there. Somehow I miscounted to 10. That's my minute. Good job, guys. Walk around a little bit. We got 1 minute off. Not so bad. I spin my bag around. Tends to get a little heavier at the one side. So, I'm gonna make sure I lift it equally with both hands. Probably not gonna cause an imbalance this one workout by lifting a slightly differently weighted sandbag, but I got the opportunity, so I'm gonna spin my bag around. Usually it's heavier at this side, so I just flipped it. 30 seconds left to breathe. Last time I finished at the, just finishing the shuffles back and forth, so I'm gonna start with the 10 lifts this time. I'm gonna try to get 10 lifts, 10 shuffles to each side, and then I'm going to, or 10 shuffles total, pardon me, then I'm gonna try to get 10 more lifts in. We'll see how I do. We're gonna start up at 5, 3, 2, 1, go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let's go, 10. Good. Shuffling back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 25 seconds left, lots of time to lift. Ten seconds. Okay, it's time. Good job, guys. 1 minute of rest. Quick sip of water. It's okay, I can breathe, I'll be all right. It's 2 rounds down, 3 to go. So we're actually gonna be doing 50 lifts instead of 30 like the test, but you get lots of rest between. Full 1 minute rest, so I feel like you guys can handle it. Well, we'll see if I can handle it anyway. So I just finished on the lifts, so we're gonna start with the shuffles back and forth now. 5 seconds. 2, 1, go. 3, 4, 4. Good. Over the lifts. Seconds. Let's keep it up. Definitely time for some lifts. 5 seconds. Time. Whew. You got 10 seconds left. You can spend that time breathing. So, the bag's just going to make a little bit more noise than the last time since I couldn't figure out how to quickly adjust it. All right. We start with that shuffle back and forth. Let's go. Good. Into the lifts. Remember, back's nice and flat. Abs are nice and tight. Whew. Time for more shuffles. 15 seconds. That's time, guys. Last round coming up. All right, we're gonna start off with some lifts. Last round. 3, 2, 1. Let's do it. Last time for this one. Shuffle back and forth 5 times each side. Whew. Lifts. 10 more. Ten seconds. Time. Whew. Take a breath. 2 minutes. I will for sure need that 2 minutes. Whew. Good job, guys. All 2 of you checking it out. Thank you. We're at a minute and a half. We're gonna get into the next one. Next one should be super familiar, okay? All you're gonna do, shoulder that sandbag, march on the spot. Try to keep those hips relatively stable. Try not to be all over the place. You see, like when I change feet, my hips will shift a little bit. I can maybe keep that a little tighter, but try to keep your weight as balanced as possible, even though you're going from side to side. It's gonna move a little bit. But feel free to slow down the marching as well if you really want to slow that or stabilize that little rock back and forth. Whew, 45 seconds. We're gonna start that up. We're gonna go 20 seconds on the right, set the sandbag down. All you're gonna do is jog on the spot. 20 seconds on the right, on the left, pardon me. Up on the shoulder, set it down, 10 seconds. And we're just gonna go between this 5 times, just like the test. Guess it's a little bit more than a test, isn't it? It's twice as much work as the test, but that's okay. Might as well be extra prepared for that test, right? 10 seconds. Plus, I know some of you guys aren't just going for the pass. So a little bit extra work, nothing mad with that. All right, we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go. So you get that sandbag up there, and all you're gonna do is so you get 20 seconds, set her down. Jog on the spot. Once we get up to 30 seconds, on the clock. Again, feel free. You notice yourself start to move from side to side too much. Feel free. Slow it down. Squeeze those abs hard. All right. Jog. As soon as we get to the 1 minute mark, we'll switch back to that first side. 4 minutes left. You can slow it down if you have to. All right. Jogging on the spot. Switch sides. Whew. 10 seconds. Nice deep breaths while the sandbag's not on your shoulder. As soon as it's time, get right back up there. 3 rounds left. Halfway through this one. Seconds to the next side. Good job, guys. All right. Jogging on the spot. 2 more on each side. All right, pick it up. After doing a little bit of math in my head, probably do the left side one more time. Since I'm behind, play a little bit of catch up. Last time. Again, slow down the steps if you have to. Finish up strong. Good. Whew. So, like I said, we're running a little behind, but not a big deal. We'll trim a little bit off the last working set there. We'll do a little bit less rest between this next circuit. We'll be right back on track, okay? Whew. All right, so what we're gonna do next is we are going to do a little bit of sandbag drag practice. Obviously, I don't have 220 pounds of bags. I'm not gonna wreck up my floor, so I'm not gonna be doing the actual sandbag drag. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make sure I hit some of the muscles that are associated with that. So we're looking mostly at lower body for moving kind of thing. So we're doing some squats, some sandbag, some glute bridge with the sandbag. So we're aiming at for the squats. It'll hit our whole hips, our legs, everything. A little bit, we're going to be front racking that sandbag so it's squeezed in nice and tight. And we're going to specifically target the glutes and maybe a little bit of hamstrings as well with some sandbag glute bridges, which we're going to do first. And then we're going to work on the specific position that you're going to hopefully be in when you do the drag, which is a sort of wall sit. You don't have to get all the way deep down to the wall sit, like you don't have to go past 90 here, because generally speaking on that sandbag drag, you're not going to be down at a 90-degree angle to drag the sandbag. You'll probably fall on your butt that way. So doing a little bit more your lift. You guys see me over here? Something like this angle right here is probably okay You don't need to be right down in 90 degrees because once again, you're not going to sandbag drag at that height. All right, so to accommodate this as far as time domains, we're going to go 20 seconds each. So normally the PT test takes 10 seconds. Because we're a little bit limited for weight and that kind of thing, we are just going to go hard for a minute, or we're going to rest for a minute. We're going to do that 3 times, so it'll take us 5 minutes, and then we'll be right into our cool down, okay? So we're not going to spend too much time with that. I'm going to demo the sandbag glute bridge. I've already kind of shown you the squat and the wall sit. You know what that's going to look like. The only difference is for those 2 exercises, we're going to have the sandbags up in this cradle carry position, just like the PT test. So we're going to start this thing up right away here in about 5 seconds with the glute bridge. I'll show you what that looks like. Right now, abs are nice and tight, glutes are nice and tight. You're going to push the sandbag up. You're trying to push the crease of your hips up, just like this. We're already 5 seconds in. Abs are nice and tight, glutes are nice and tight. As soon as we hit 20 seconds, we're going to get up. Sandbag, nice and high up on the chest. 20 seconds of that. Or whatever's left after you actually stand up off the ground. All right, let's hit that position. We're going to drag in. 20 seconds here. Keep that bag nice and high up on the chest. Some of you guys, this will be more of an upper body workout. That's totally fine. All right. Good job, guys. 1 minute of rest. All right. So, you know that minute's not very long. You really have to rush in between body positions. Just gonna wipe my floor off here since I slipped in my own puddle of sweat there. Would have been a shame if I'd have dislocated something. Slide around on the floor there. So make sure your area is safe, I guess. So we're gonna try to be nice and quick in the transition. Sorry, that's what I was saying. Try to be nice and quick because I noticed I didn't quite get as many squats as I might want done. I'm gonna try to be a little faster as soon as I've done those glute bridges, right into those squats. I think next time I'll dump the bag off instead of trying to get up with the bag, because I think that really slowed me down. Whew. Got 10 seconds. Start with those glute bridges. Or hip thrust if you want to call them that. Let's do it. 10 seconds. 20 seconds, pardon me. Again, goal here, trying to push the crease of your hip as high as you can. Squeeze those glutes. 7 seconds left. Okay. Squats next. Those wall sits. Whew. It's time. Good job, guys. Last round coming up just like that. Table out of the way. I was really slipping on the floor here. I stepped in a puddle of my own sweat. Whew. I will adapt and overcome though, don't you guys worry. All 2 of you. Okay guys, 30 seconds. Last exercise, last round. Now just like the sandbag drag, you're rewarded for speed in here, okay? So do your best, super quick transition. The hip thrust or glute bridge, maybe you don't need to do it quite so fast though, but the squats, like really try to power through as many reps as you can squeeze into that 20 seconds with that transition time built in there, okay? So we're getting ready, we got 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go. 5 seconds. Squats are next. Right into those squats. You're in a rush. Keep going. Okay, wall sit. Last thing. Shoulder blades back. Abs nice and tight. Push to the floor. All right, that's it. Whew. Get rid of those sandbags. Walk around a little bit. Whew. That was good. Good intensity when I managed my transitions. Whew. Once again, walk around a little bit. Take a breath. Oh, tons of time for a cool down, 6 minutes. Whew. Good job, guys. Nice deep breaths. We start cooling down in just a minute. Good job, nice and quick. Managed to get myself back on track time-wise. So we're doing all right. All right, so we're not going to jump straight into any ground-based cool-down activities. We're going to keep it up, standing up. As I do this kind of stuff, I kind of like to do a little bit of step forward, step back kind of thing, just to kind of keep me loose. Make sure I'm not standing in one spot, holding a static stretch for too long. Blood rushes to the wrong spot. Down you go. We don't want that. So just try to keep moving, let your muscles kind of help move blood around your body. That's a good way to cool it down. We're going to start off 2 thumbs up like this. You're going to point those thumbs away from each other, and you're going to exhale. Another exhale. Good. Do this again. Inhale and exhale. Another exhale. Should be a nice subtle stretch across the front of your shoulders. Another exhale. Good. Okay, next thing, palms together. Right arm up, left arm down. Exhale into that position. Come together in the middle. Same thing on the other side. So inhale here, exhale here. Inhale, exhale. Try to keep those shoulders away from your ears. In both arms, especially with the lower one. Upper one, just don't make sure you jack your shoulder up too much. A nice reasonable amount of neck is a good thing. Good, we're going to do a couple in the middle. Just because we did bang on those shoulders a little bit, that burpee pattern, or the get down, get up from the rushes, can be a little tough on the shoulders. We're going to make sure we loosen up those pecs, loosen up the front of the shoulders. Excuse me. All right, good. So now that I've kind of taken a couple minutes to let my breathing come down, let my heart rate come down a little bit, before we get down on the ground, we're just going to do a little bit of breathing stuff. All I'm going to do is get you to build to 4 seconds of holding breath in, or breathing in, holding the air in for 4 seconds, breathing it out over 4 seconds, and holding it out of your lungs for 4 seconds. We're going to start that really small, so that's a box. Each one is 4 seconds. We're going to start nice and simple with just 1 second. So 1 in, hold for 1, exhale for 1, hold out for 1. Now we're going to go 2 in. So 2 in, hold, out for 2, and hold out for 2. Good. Now we're going to go 3. In for 3, hold for 3, out for 3, hold out for 3. 4 seconds now. Hold, out, and hold out. Okay, we'll do 4 seconds. Okay, so we're going to go to 4. We're going to go in for 4. And out. Good. All right, so again, we just gradually built that up. Right after PT, it's really tough to get into super controlled breathing. But if you kind of step it up, you can get into that more controlled breath relatively quickly. Now, if you're doing this, should have given you this warning beforehand, and you were feeling lightheaded, maybe just breathe whatever's natural and find a safe and comfortable spot to hang out on the floor so you don't fall down. Okay, so now we're feeling nice and controlled. Breathing's nice and controlled, heart rate's starting to come down. We're getting some nice light mobility stuff. I know I'm not going to give you enough time for a super thorough cool down, so anything that really concentrates on your back, I kind of bang through the things. You can feel free to copy what I'm doing here and do it a little bit longer, okay? So definitely once you get that world's greatest stretch in, you saw it at the beginning, so I'm not going to show you that again. We're going to do a little bit of stuff specifically for your back and hips right now. So we're just kind of focusing on the spine here. You're going to look up at the ceiling. Exhale there. Same thing down here, pushing through the shoulders, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. Exhale, really try to arch that back. Less problems with flexion. Not so good at extension, especially in my mid-back, something I gotta work on. This is definitely a way to do it. So a couple times there. Next thing you're gonna do is, from this position, this all fours position, you're just gonna reach one hand to the side. Definitely recommend 5 to 10 reps of that. Next thing we're gonna do is you're gonna take your feet, pardon me, your hands just like this, one foot out to the side. You take a hand on the back of your head, you're gonna reach that elbow down towards the hand, exhale up, looking at the ceiling, just like this. Then from there, on each side, you're gonna rock back into the hips, okay? So this should get after the adductors. So that first movement, you're getting a little bit of a subtle stretch in those adductors, a little bit of rotation through the spine, and that second movement, you're really going after those adductors, okay? Okay, so finally, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of continue to go after those hips after we've done a little bit more dynamic stuff. We're gonna get into a nice static stretch. All I'm gonna have you guys do is one leg straight, one leg bent, over the body, just like that right there, to get a nice stretch for the outside of the hip. This one doesn't need to be dynamic. I would just kind of breathe it out as you start to relax. This knee should get a little closer to the floor without, you see how I just went up to look at you guys and point at my knee. That shoulder should stay glued to the floor more or less. Same thing with this straight-ish leg. Just like that. All right, guys, so that pretty much does it for time for me. So again, just to let you know what your cool down is supposed to be, world's greatest stretch, once or twice on each side. A little bit of cat-cow as well. That stretch where you're on all fours, reaching from side to side, as well as, I gave you something else. Oh, that thoracic extension rotation with the leg out to the side. 3 to 5 reps on each side of that, and then finish it up about 30 seconds times 2 of this nice stretch for the outside of the leg. So, sorry to tell you about the warm-up, or the cool down, pardon me, versus show it to you, but I ran out of time a little bit. Once again, thank you very much for participating in the class, and I will see you guys next time I see you, maybe even at the base gym. We'll see.